Welcome everyone to the game between Gukesh and Movahed Sina from Iran. Gukesh, the current world champion, takes on this youngster from Iran who's been doing amazingly well in this tournament. Mohaved is born in 2010, so he is just 15 years old, and in this tournament he's already beaten Maxim Matlakov, Pranav V, Nihal Sarin, and has drawn against Yu Yangi. He now takes on Gukesh in what can be potentially a very exciting game of chess between the two. Gukesh with the white pieces adjusting his pieces while Mohaved has black, and the time control here is 15 minutes plus 10 seconds increment. Gukesh has had a pretty decent run up till now. He drew against Rodrigo Lemochon in the first round. He was losing. Then he beat Sergey Drigalov, then Nikita Petrov and Alan Pichot. This now is the fifth round. He opens his game with pawn to e4, c5 by Mohaved, knight to f3, pawn to d6, and we have d4, the open Sicilian. Pawn takes pawn, knight comes out to f6, knight c3, and we have the Sicilian Najdorf. Gukesh goes for the g3 line against it, and e5, the most direct way to play. Knight comes back to f3, and now bishop e7 is played. White tries to grab space on the queen side with a4, black castles, bishop g2, and knight bd7 played here by black. White castles and knight to c5, putting pressure on the e4 pawn here. The queen comes out to e2, defending it, and we go bishop d7. The idea of this move is to put the bishop on c6, maybe at some point even go for the b5 move, and Gukesh goes bishop g5. He wants to take the knight because it's controlling the d5 square. h6, take on f6, bishop takes f6, and white is clearly for choice in this position. Rook comes to d1, putting pressure here on the pawn on d6. Mohaved now plays bishop e7. It's clear that the opening has gone Gukesh's way, and now he brings his knight to d2. The ideal formation is to play a5, b4, and then jump with your knight to d5. He comes back knight e6, and he wants to play his knight to d4 to attack the queen and the c2 pawn. Jumps in knight to d5. And bishop comes out to c6. And Gukesh now goes knight to b3, just opening up the rook but also controlling the d4 square with his knight. Mohaved goes rook e8. And it's time to play pawn to a5, clamping down on the b6 square here. The bishop drops back to f8. And now knight b6 seems like a very nice move. He plays it. Knight comes to b6. And rook to b8 played by Mohaved. c3, and the idea is to go maybe b4 later when the knight moves away, also controlling the d4 square. The queen comes out to g5, and although Gukesh is better, he has to find a way to break through. h4 attacks the queen. The queen drops back to g6. And now knight comes to d2. That's a nice move. He wants to bring his knight to c4. Rook jumps into the center of the board. I like how Mohaved, although he has not a great position, he's making logical, good moves. Because if Gukesh goes wrong, he'll get his chances if his pieces are on good squares. And now he lashes out with f5. I think taking on f5 makes a lot of sense. So he does take it. E takes f5. Queen takes on f5. Now knight to d5 is a strong move here. Plays it. Knight to d5. And the other knight could go to c4. Maybe also to e4. Knight on b6. Putting pressure here. Goes back queen f7. Keeping an eye on the d5 knight so that knight f4 tactics can be in the air. Knight to c4. Lovely position here for white. White has complete control on the position. And for sure Mohaved is under big pressure. He goes king h8. Still keeping it cool. Maybe queen f3. Trading queens is not such a bad idea. But Gukesh goes knight to e3. And now pawn to g6. Taking away the f5 square. Maybe just bishop e4. He plays it. Brings his bishop to bear down on a very good square. And now h5 could be on the card. So he himself plays h5. Mohaved. And Gukesh can now build up pressure with queen d3. Maybe even queen f3. He goes queen c2. Putting pressure here. And king h7. Now maybe rook d3. Doubling down the d file. All these moves. But he goes g4. A typical Gukesh move. Where he sees that after hg4, h5 is winning for him. So he pushes the pawn. But in doing so, he's giving up the f4 square. You give some, you take some. But was that needed when you have such deep control over the position? Mohaved now simply jumps in with his knight. A very good move by him. Knight to f4. The main point is that if knight takes, e takes, suddenly the rook gets activated. So he takes on h5. Knight takes h5 and all of a sudden it's the white king who's also very weak, just like the black king. King h1 played and now it's black who's actually pressing here. Gukesh under big pressure. Mohaved has also extra time on the clock. He goes queen e6. He's threatening a check on h3. And Gukesh plays pawn to f3. He wants to bring his queen to h2 in case of a check here. And check on g3. And this is really difficult position now for Gukesh. Very nice move by Mohaved. Takes with the queen here. And now bishop h6. Popping out the bishop on a very good diagonal. Plays it. Bishop to h6. There's a pin here. There's attack here. All of a sudden it's black who is calling the shots. Gukesh finds a good move. He attacks the bishop on h6 with knight g4. And rook to f8 played. And now maybe h5 to open up the position. Although rook f4 could be an idea. He plays h5. Wow. What a move. King comes to g7. And maybe it's time now to trade queens with queen takes g6. He takes it with just 4 seconds on the clock. My goodness. Takes hg. Gukesh has to play carefully here. Black is equal right now. He plays bishop to g5, controlling these squares. Knight goes to f2. He wants to bring his knight to the central squares. Rook comes to f5. And now pawn to c4. King takes the pawn. Knight e4. Attacking the bishop, attacking the pawn. He goes rook f8. Rook to a3, defending the pawn on f3. Gukesh trying to control all the light squares with his knights and pawns and everything. And black is hoping to somehow enter in from this side. Knight takes d6, rook g5 check. Wow, king f1. Plays it very quickly. Now the position is complex, immensely complex. So rook g3. He plays bd7. He's going after the king with bishop h3, rook here, bishop looking here. Insane how Mohaved has created counterplay. Gukesh comes back with his knight. Well, I guess with the time he has to hope that nothing goes wrong now. Bishop h3 check. And now king comes up to e2. There's rook to g2 check. Comes in. Another check. King e3. And now rook h2. With the idea of bishop g2. But plays rook to b2. And now bg2 is a big move. Gukesh plays rook d2. And bg2 is a great move. Because if rook takes rook f3. And you win back the rook. But instead he trades. And I think that's a big mistake by Mohaved. Because now with just king e2, white is in complete control, defending the f3 pawn. Black is lacking the firepower that he had with two rooks, and you can see Mohaved shaking his head. Gukesh knows that he's winning now. His knights are dominant. He has a queenside majority. He can push forward with b5. He brings back the rook. He's threatening now rook h1. And bishop to e6. But this is over. Rook g1 check. And Mohaved, you can see he's so unhappy. Rook to h1 played, pinning the bishop. And rook h8. There are many ways to convert this, but knight c5 is a nice way. Attacking the b7 pawn, attacking the bishop. The bishop goes to f5. And Gukesh, I believe, can simply take the pawn, but he goes knight e3. He attacks the bishop. He's also threatening knight g2. And Mohaved resigns here. A very, very good game by both sides. I must say that Gukesh played the opening and early middle game wonderfully. But then a slightly rash decision to break with g4. And as you can see him analyzing that rash decision to play g4 gave Mohaved so much counterplay, and that somehow made Gukesh fall into trouble. But eventually he managed to come out of it, even though he was down to like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. He made several moves, and I love the attitude of this youngster here, who in spite of losing the game wants to analyze, wants to understand where he could have gone wrong, where he could have done better. And Gukesh, of course, always very curious and wants to learn. I'll leave you with the analysis here, and I hope that you had good fun watching this game. The all-new ChessBase 26 is the ultimate way of managing your chess databases and becoming a better chess player. ChessBase is a software used by all the best players in the world, and it is the top tool for the best players to work on chess in a professional manner. There are innumerable features that the ChessBase software provides, like saving your games, annotating them, referencing huge databases, learning new openings, similar endgames, tactical patterns, and much more. The all-new ChessBase 26 has an absolutely amazing new feature of building excellent opening reports. You can also now sort games based on them being rapid, blitz, or classical in the reference tab itself. Add to this the Mega Database 2026 and you will not only get more than 11 million games that ChessBase can use as data, but also more than 110,000 annotated games by masters. Get your ChessBase 26 and Mega 2026 now. The link is in the description.